Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show will revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Moosie Drier and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Moosie Drier, and today we are thrilled to welcome the stars of one of the most iconic series of all time, excuse me, for kids of my generation. It was a can't miss on Saturday mornings. It was one of my favorite shows. It's now celebrating its 50th anniversary. And no lie, since we started doing this Pop Culture Retro, we've gotten so many requests for them to appear. So please help me welcome the stars of Land of the Lost, Kathy Coleman and Wesley Eure. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Thank you for having me.
how are you?
We have a lot to cover. Like we said, it's the 50th anniversary of Land of the Lost. But I want to start with before that. Kathy, you were in the Mike Herb congregation, and Wesley, I only found this out this week. You were in talks to replace David Cassidy on the Partridge Family. So can you both talk a little about those experiences?
Okay, well,
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead, Kathy. You go ahead.
I was with the band for 2 years, did 2 national tours. It was a blast. I got to perform with some of the greats of Hollywood, and like everybody from Bob Hope, George Burns, Burt Bacharach,
Oh, wow.
Kelly Sabah, just you name it. That whole era of entertainers, I got to sing with and dance with, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Which year were you on the Clint Eastwood one, the Clint Eastwood song, the Clint Eastwood movie, the Kelly's Heroes?
No, Kelly's Heroes. No, I was not, but I sang it when we did shows all the time. Yeah, Burning Bridges.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
wasn't in the
saw
band.
Kathy. I saw
What?
Kathy perform with the
In
Mike Herb
Vegas.
congregation in Vegas and a couple other times.
Yeah.
I think this is listen, okay. I had to come on, and I have to say this first. I promise you, this is not going to be the Kathy Moosie show. I promise. We have way too many memories. We have the Wesley the Great here, and we have too many things to talk about, so it won't be our show. But I do have to say this. Where am I here?
Oh, we still got to hear the Partridge Family story also. Remember that.
Well, wait, we're going to the Partridge Family. I'm not saying I've known Kathy for a long time or anything, but look at those two.
Oh my gosh.
That's how we knew each other before that. That was Marine
we
one.
did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
How old are you, Moosie?
How old was I there?
Yeah.
Oh God. What am I, 6 or something? Or I don't know.
Like 5.
All I know is that there's many years I would go, what kind of hell, what jacket am I wearing? And now in 2024, I'm like, how can I get a jacket like that? I kind of like it. Anyway, so sorry. We go back. We go back.
Yes,
in
we
many years.
do.
We both know where the bodies are buried and all that
Oh,
stuff. We won't
they're
get into it.
buried in Old MacDonald's farm.
Yeah. Oh God, we did an industrial film together. Okay, forget it. Never. Only
No,
I
I want to hear these. No, listen, Kathy talks about you all the time. You guys had such a special relationship, and there was a whole group of you guys because you guys were really child stars together, and there was and I wasn't part of that group. So you guys have such a bond. I came to your house once for a party with all these wonderful child stars, and I was kind of like looking in more than being part of it. But it's such a special relationship all of you guys have, and I love watching it.
I'm glad you say that, and I have to say, there's so many. We all get this, there's a stigma about former child actors, well, what pharmacy did you hold up, or what, I have no regrets about it. There's some really good people I'm still in contact with, and
They are.
this is my house. Wait, Wesley is in there. No, okay. Yeah,
the blue shirt. Yeah.
Philip Paley, who's Chaka on your show, who, by the way, is on my very short list to get on this too.
Yeah, and
But
Phil's in the black shirt.
He was my hero as a child because he was the first black belt in the world with Chuck Norris and all that stuff. So it's not just Land of the Lost we're going to talk to him about, but that whole thing.
But look at that group of people. Look at it. I mean, Johnny Whitaker and Allison Arngrim, and I mean,
Jerry Jewell from Facts of Life, Robbie Wrist is
There's
in there.
Aaron Murphy.
Aaron Murphy, Matthew Laberto, Nellie Olson, Allison Arngrim, Mary McDonough. Yeah, and they all showed up at my house. And
amazing pick. Yeah.
What a weird, surreal day that was for me.
And everybody threw their litho on the table, your like kitchen table. Do you remember? And so weird to see a litho, because that's what we called them back then. It wasn't a headshot; it was like a litho.
Right.
By 10.
Well, Kathy. Everyone had this. Sean Kenny took everybody's photos as a child actor back then. And Kathy was an expert ice skater and a horseback rider and this, and everybody said they did everything. Of course, Kathy kind of did everything, but yet everyone threw it, and that was a special time. Anyway, so
and Sean Kenny himself from Star Trek. I mean, Kathy and I do the Star Trek convention every year, and I got to meet Sean, and they're like, I mean, this bosom buddies all the time because Sean played Captain Pike. He was the original.
I know he had the half the face, whatever.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm not really even a Trekkie, and I know that. Now, I used to hang out with Sean. Kathy knows this. I didn't grow up with a father, and Sean went on location with me to Wyoming and stuff like that. It was kind of more like a big brother. But Sean Kenny was like Winston Cigarette's answer to the Marlboro Man. He was the Winston guy on all the billboards.
So handsome.
The most handsome man you'll ever meet in your life.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
But so humble and so cool, and we got to have him on here too because that's iconic. I mean that's pop
and what
culture.
A nice guy. He's still handsome. You know, he's
I saw him not too long ago. Him and Taki, he's still boyish and young, and I love him dearly. You almost replaced David Cassidy.
Good segue. I like that.
I'm getting to that. I didn't know this.
Moosie Drier is such a pro.
He is. I'm telling you. We're in front of royalty.
That's right. He has worked more than any other child actor in showbiz.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that, and we all worked with a lot of people.
It is true, Moosie. You did so many things as a kid.
I will say, I think the trophy might go to Pamela Ferdin.
In the female category, but
she worked.
I got to almost kill Pamela in Toolbox Murders, but then she kills me. So it's we share. We share similar memories.
That's a good movie.
She saved my life in Lassie. She found me by the river like Timmy.
She could cry better than any kid on the planet.
Well, we were talking about that recently on another podcast. It was Pamela Ferdin. It was
Matthew Laberto.
Matthew Laberto from Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
And Katie Kurtzman, she can cry. So yeah, those three definitely had some real issues in their lives. No, just great actors. Great actors. Not as good as you would have been as Keith Partridge.
Oh, very good. I like it.
You're not getting out of this one.
Well, listen, back then it was a smaller community, Hollywood. And back in the sort of the teen idol group guys, we all knew each other. Like Sean Cassidy and Leif Garrett would come swimming at my pool, and I knew David Cassidy, and we knew the DeFrancos and all those guys back in the day. So David decided that he wanted to leave the series, The Partridge Family, and they were really upset at ABC. So they wrote a new script, and they said they were going to cast a next door neighbor, become his best friend with a single dad who's going to marry Shirley. So I went over to Bobby Sherman's house, another teen idol, and I recorded a song for ABC, and then I lip synced it for ABC and got the part.
Wow.
To place David. And then David heard from the rumor that I heard, David heard that I was going to replace him. He goes, I think I'll stay.
Wow.
So yeah. So my life in the painted bus ended quickly.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So Moosie, when Wesley just said at your party, he felt like he was looking in on all of us, that we were in this little cliquey group. When he said that he was up against Bobby Sherman.
And David Cat. By the way,
Yeah,
Tony.
that was his crew.
That was my crew.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and Tony DeFranco just did the show, by the way.
Oh well, okay. You've got everybody on. My goodness.
Well, I wanted to know how did you both come to be cast in Land of the Lost? And were you aware of who the Crofts were at the time and their other shows?
No, I was on Days of Our Lives playing my court, which I did for about a decade.
Right.
And a friend of mine, Bruce Ostrander, said, "Hey, I'm going to Sid Croft's house." I go, "Sid Croft?" He goes, "Yeah, they had Saturday morning shows." They said, "We're going to go swimming at his house. Come on over. It was Sunday." So I went over there, and it was like maybe 5 of us. And Sid actually just told the story again recently. And Sid and I just chatted all day long, sitting on a lounge chair. And at the end of the day, Sid looked at me and said, "You are perfect for my new series. Here's the casting director's name. Call her tomorrow." I called her. I went in. They said, "The job's yours."
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow. I hate to keep doing this, but Sid Croft also did this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding.
It's
Moosie,
a spider web.
Moosie,
I'm not kidding.
Moosie, how was Abraham Lincoln? Did he do a good job on your podcast?
He was honest, I tell you. I mean, he loved the theater at first.
Could you get his hat in, Frank?
Yeah. Well, so wait a minute. You were doing Days of Our Lives and Land of the Lost at the same time. Is that correct?
Same time for 3 years.
Like, that's crazy to do soap opera in the first place, but a soap opera and to be one of the leads in a demanding show like Land of the Lost at the same time. That's crazy.
Well, they were both NBC shows, and that's the only reason I could do both of them.
Oh.
And I had so they made a deal that I could do all my scenes on Days of Our Lives first thing in the morning. So for 3 years, the cast of Days of Our Lives hated me because I would go in the morning, 6 in the morning, I'd do my stuff, and then I would be out by like 9 or something like that, 10. And I'm gone. And I got in my car and ran over to Hollywood to General Service Studios or Goldwyn, whichever studio we were filming.
Right.
And so in the morning, Lucy, I'm crying that my girlfriend's leaving me. I'm having sexual problems. The mafia is after me. And in the afternoon, I'm going, "Run, Holly, run! There's a dinosaur." So it was a bit schizophrenic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it sounds like thinking you're going to be eaten by a dinosaur is almost like the better day that you're having.
Exactly.
And Kathy, how did you get on? How did you get cast on the show?
Just went in. I used to go on interviews, 3, 4 of them a week, and I went in on this job. And I wound up getting a call back, and I wound up going on 7 callbacks, throughout the whole interviewing process. And then on one of the callbacks, I walked in and Phil Paley was in there. Well, I knew Phil, of course, from our little group of, childhood actors, but I'd also worked with him on a Cheez-Its commercial. And so then I asked him, I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm trying out for this show, Land of the Lost." Because sometimes when you'd go into a casting office, there were 2 or 3 things being cast at the same time. So not necessarily would he have been going up for the same thing I was. But anyway, it turns out he was, and he said he was trying out for a part as a monkey on the show. And, come to find out years later, Wesley had a say in who he chose for his sister, and he picked me. So.
Oh, wow.
Well, Kathy came. I think Kathy auditioned 7 times, and they insisted I was part of the casting because they wanted it to be a real family and to have the chemistry. And so, immediately with Kathy, it was just like, I mean, you were just shy of 12, you were 11, and we just hit it off. And then the guy that played Spencer Milligan played our dad. I also auditioned Spencer, and and that's why we so look alike too. Spencer and I with the big hair and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons Land of the Lost still holds up to this day, I think, because people tell us this all the time, is that we all really loved each other. Kathy and I are like best friends. We live in Palm Springs together, not together, but close by. And Spencer, who just passed away, was like a dad to both of us. Phil Paley's like a brother. We really, really genuinely like each other and are still friends.
That comes off so organically and throughout all the years too. And I was going to bring up Spencer because, you know, he was one of you guys and still is, but you know, you loved him so much.
You know, Moosie, you brought it up that Sean was like a father figure to you or a big brother. The same, I grew up without a father too. So,
Yeah,
you know, we're
I
all
know.
like, you know, fatherless here. And
Right.
so we gravitated to Spencer. And the good thing about him is he gravitated back. So, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. So can I just tell you real quick, going back to Philip Paley and the casting of
I thought you were going to say the Parker family.
No. But there should be a whole new episode just about that. But I was so into martial arts, and I just met Chuck Norris, and I thought that was really cool. We're watching The Tonight Show, and Chuck Norris is the guest, and he brings out the world's youngest black belt, and it's Philip Paley, Chaka, from your show, before Land of the Lost. And we all grew up around other actors and celebrities. You know, to me, like musicians and athletes, I got starstruck by. Actors are like, no disrespect, awesome, love, great. But I was like, Mom, I want to be friends with that kid. Of course, my mom made that happen. So I was friends with Phil. I've already been friends with Kathy for a long time. And then you guys go off and do a show together and get to hang out every single day. And I wouldn't say I was jealous. I was just I was envious and feeling like, you guys must have been having so much fun. And I would visit Land of the Lost. I did a couple of times at your set and ran through the caves. And knowing that two of my really great friends are doing this show together every day, I was so happy for you guys. And because you're both good people. And of course, you guys are going to end up like family. But I just remember going, you know, I might be working on something where I'm the only kid in the show. You know, and like it's boring or whatever. And you guys are having such a blast. I was so envious. Anyway.
Well, you know, it's the Tonight Show that Phil got the job on Land of the Lost.
Oh, is that right?
That performance, which is hysterical, and you can see it on YouTube every once in a while. It comes up, but where Phil is like 3 feet tall, flips Johnny onto the floor, and Johnny runs to Ed McMahon and goes, "Help, protect me!" And the Crofts were looking for someone to play Chaka, the monkey character.
Yeah.
And they were thinking about a little person, but then they saw Phil on the Tonight Show and go,
yeah,
that kid can do it. Well, and Joe Giammalva and Sharon Barrett from the original Mouseketeers, she was taught and saw Phil's nemesis, parents, nasty.
Yeah. You know, I knew how it worked. I knew how the magic worked. You guys aren't really lost. All that stuff, right? So, and I'm still a kid. I'm talking to one of the sleeve stacks. And, you know, he was really nice to me, and he's a giant and all that stuff. And then later I became like, you know, when I grew up, I became kind of, you know, sports. I like, you know, more of jock, you know, dumb sport. And I'm like, holy crap, that's Bill Laimbeer, you know, on the Detroit Pistons. Like, that was the, because I remembered his face. He looked like the,
and he became the bad boy of the Detroit Pistons too.
Yeah.
He wasn't the nicest. And Kathy and I went and surprised him. We hadn't seen him in all those years. A couple of years ago, we were doing the Star Trek convention, and he was coaching the Aces in Las Vegas. So the Star Trek convention's in Vegas. So we made arrangements with the owner of the league to go and surprised him. And all the ladies, it was the Aces. It was a women's basketball team, and they all had 8x10s of a sleeve stack face, and he didn't know we were coming. And as soon as we walked in, they held up above their face the sleeve stack 8x10, and he's looking around like he's huge, he's tall, 7 feet tall. He's looking around, and we come in and stuff like that. And it took him a moment to realize who the heck we were, because
it helped.
Right.
A sleeve stack here.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Star Trek, so I think some of the writers from Star Trek wrote for Land of the Lost. Is this correct? Now,
Yeah.
I know the show may have been aimed towards youngsters, but some of the stuff was like, that's for anybody, you know? Was
David Gerald, who wrote Trouble with Tribbles, if you're Star Trek, he created the Tribbles.
Mm-hmm.
So David was our head writer, and Sid and Marty had actually asked Gene Roddenberry if he'd be the head writer, but Gene was just have something. Wow. So he recommended David. So David got all the Star Trek writers that were young. They were young at the time. They were just beginning their careers. And he told them, he says, we're going to write a sci-fi show that airs on Saturday morning, not a Saturday morning sci-fi show. That's why the language, if you watch the scripts, time doorways and doppelgangers and matrices, multidimensional, all these sort of things, they never ever talked down to kids, and they never explained it. They just said it, and you had to catch on.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly described what you just said, because it definitely was not, did not have a kid feel. I mean, me and all my friends like religiously watched it, and it never felt like it was like dumbed down or anything, like dumbed down sci-fi or anything. I just curious, like you said, were the Crofts very involved from the day-to-day productions or no?
They were not, and because there was a reason. They were opening the Sid and Marty Krofft Park in Atlanta, which didn't last very long, in the CNN building and stuff like that. So they were kind of preoccupied with that. But Marty would come on the set every once in a while. Sid was pretty involved with the park, and but another the guy that created Enoch, the talking sleep stack, was Walter Koenig, Chekhov, the original Chekhov on Star Trek. So he was one of our writers.
Wow.
And E.C. Fontana and Larry Niven and Spinrad, all these amazing sci-fi writers. And that's why I think it holds up today.
Because of the budget on Land of the Lost, we weren't really allowed to clown around. We had to knock out 2 episodes a week. So they wanted everything done in pretty much one take. But it seemed like every time that we clowned around on the set, that's when Sid and Marty would show up.
Yeah.
Can you speak, Marty? Marty just also passed, and can you speak about him a little bit?
Marty was the business guy. Sid was the more creative of the guys. Because Sid was a puppeteer, and a star, performing with Judy Garland and all these amazing, like at the Fairmont and all these hotels, the Diplomat and Vegas and things like that. And then Marty came on board and helped with the puppets, and they created this partnership that really worked. And Marty was very, very no nonsense, right, gruff to it. And Sid was like, "Hey man, how you doing?"
Well, that's a perfect.
In fact, let's look at the show they created: Lidsville, Puffin Stuff, Land of the Lost. At Comic-Con, somebody said, "Sid, did you?" And said, "All right, I did inhale."
I mean, the one business guy keeping you in line, and the other one making the show great. The way I loved all of Sid and Marty Krofft show. Hey, if you talk to Sid Krofft, I did a pilot. I only worked for them one time. I did a pilot. It was called Babaloo. It was Artie Johnson from Mona Martin's Laugh-In, and I was his grandson, and he was a crazy professor, and he turned our dog into a Bill Lambier size. It was a man in a big dog costume. His name was Babaloo. Will you find out if we got picked up yet? Because this was 1974.
The check's in the mail, Moosie.
Is it?
Yeah.
I keep looking, and no. And what a crazy thing! When you walked in, I walked into the Sid and Marty Kroffts to get for a wardrobe fitting, and there's HR Puffin stuff like in the clear plastic on the shelves, and all the Lidsvilles, the little helmets, and all that stuff. And I know you guys must have experienced all that craziness.
Well, we've been very fortunate lately. Sid has been doing a lot of shows with us, autograph shows. And we've got another one coming up with Sid, but we just finished a couple of them together. And every moment with Sid's turned, I think 94.
Just turned 95.
Wow.
And every moment with him is just it's heaven on earth.
We do panels, those panels at the shows, at the conventions. And they're supposed to be like the moderator will ask questions, and then we all go down the line and answer the questions. And then sometimes the audience will ask a question. when we get up there, we just hand the microphone to Sid and we don't say a word.
No.
He just goes on and on and on. He's got the best stories though. So for us to talk, it would literally be robbing the audience of these great stories that he tells.
Yeah, he's your Gary Marshall, you know, the late great Gary Marshall. But like, you know, he's just so much there. So Kathy, so you were tapping in on. I know that a lot of jobs weren't just fun and games. I mean, you guys had 2 episodes a week, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a lot of work. I mean, so how did you, I know you guys did green screen when you were in the raft for the show opening, because I was there that day on set. Are you pretending that, like, say a dinosaur? I know there were nice dinosaurs. There was Grumpy or Dopey and
Dopey.
Yeah. Was it?
Dopey was my pet brontosaurus.
Yeah, a sweet one.
Grumpy was the Tyrannosaurus Rex that used to always try to come get us our cave. But it was chroma key blue. That was that big wall that we had on the set. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say 40% of our work was done on that screen wall. Yeah. And then 60% was in the interior, exterior.
The jungles, the sets, and all that.
So you're acting off of, you're playing off of nothing basically a lot of the time.
Right. Look at that light up there. That's Grumpy. Look at him scream and then run that direction. You know,
I wish people knew how difficult that was to not have.
It must have been more difficult than we even thought, because there's still photographs of like a scene like that.
Right.
And the guy, we know that the stage manager said, okay, that one red hanging light right there, that's where I want you to look. So in the still photo though, we're all looking in different directions.
Did Spencer not do one of the seasons, or did he leave the show?
Third season, he left it. He wasn't. He had a fight with the Cross about merchandising, because we were all over the place with our faces, and they were not willing to give a piece of the merchandising. So he left, and then Ron Harper, who was on Planet of the Apes, came in as our Uncle Jack. I went in and re-recorded the theme song because we had to change the lyrics to match Jack.
We were going to ask you about that.
Like 40 men, they called me back in before the 3rd season started, and I auditioned like 40 guys for the role of Uncle Jack. I read with them all.
Oh, wow.
Did you feel the dynamic?
Like, hi, they were just being overly friendly. And then Ron came in. He was just sort of like casual and kicked back. And I thought, you know what? I like him. And I picked him. And hey, I've said before, after that, read my book.
Read her book. Run.
We are going to talk about the book. I'm just curious, did you feel the dynamic of the show change at all from Spencer to Ron?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we didn't have David Jones as the head writer. So the sci-fi element wasn't as strong. It became more guest monster of the week. Mm-hmm. And of course, we missed Spencer, and that dynamic was really hard to replicate. That really bond. What was odd was in the mornings on Days of Our Lives, I was doing his wife, Ron Harper's wife, was on Days of Our Lives. So in the morning I'm with his wife, and in the afternoon I'm coming to be with Uncle Jack in a cave.
That's awesome. I just wanted to ask. Go ahead, Moosie. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you did 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Who knows why shows end? They just all do. Every one of them. But they always have a plan in case they get picked up or whatever. Were you aware of any storylines that maybe you never got to do, but were gonna if the show continued?
No, but I did like your idea when you did the Gilligan's Island movie that we came out of the jungle. That would have been a good one.
Yeah.
I want to do a okay, Wesley, did your character on Days of Our Lives die?
No. He's still
so
around.
do you remember on Newhart, at the end of Newhart, he woke up in bed with Suzanne Plachette and said, I just had the weirdest dream. I think on Days of Our Lives,
Mary Fran,
right?
Mary, who was on Days of Our Lives with me.
Oh wow, yeah. But I mean, you could have Land of the Lost could have been this just crazy dream you had.
I
On
love it.
Days of Our Life should have you on there. Go, oh my
my
God.
God.
And then Kathy comes in, you know, as a different character or something.
Oh my, Mary
wow.
Fran, listen, I love Mary. She was beautiful as stuff. and but those girls on the soap operas were so nasty sometimes to each other. I remember once Mary Fran's come, she's just finishing her scene, or just one of the other actresses finishing her scene. Mary Fran's about to walk in to do her scene through the doors, and all the other actors looked at Mary and goes, "Oh, you're wearing that, huh? Oh." And walked away. And that's what these girls did to them. They were so busy sometimes.
So,
I have to just interject one thing, because you guys all talked about it there. Moosie said you saw it too. As a kid, the slee stack scared the hell out of me. And I could go so far as to check the room before I went into it if they were hiding in there.
Underneath the bed.
Yeah, it's things like that in the closet, on the bed. So just how much fun was it for you to film those scenes with them?
Well, the costumes.
And you had Richard Kiel from the James Bond as well.
Oh yeah, Richard Kiel. Yeah.
Was he the guy with the gold teeth, the big dude?
Was,
John.
Yeah.
He played the character John.
The biggest hands you've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
But the slee stack costumes were made out of wetsuits. So, you know, like when you're driving down PCH and you see the surfers with them pulled down to their, that's how they walked around on the set, with just them pulled down to their waist and a white t-shirt. So, you know, when people say, were you afraid of them? Well, no, you know, they could only be fully suited up under those lights for about 15 seconds. And that was their limit of how long they could be all suited up.
Yeah, more like a couple of minutes, 2 minutes maybe.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because they had to chase us.
But a lot of that was clipped.
Wow. Yeah.
I gotta say, so Kathy, so I met you. You were Goldilocks or whatever. You were doing some Goldilocks
commercial.
Yeah.
First commercial, Moosie.
Yeah.
I went on 100 interviews before that. Because Mom thought that they were looking for the next Shirley Temple. She had no idea. She came out of Australia thinking, Hollywood, that means Shirley Temple. Right. And there it is.
Oh, look at that. Oh.
I mean, come on.
They were looking for the girl next door. So I never got any work until that day I walked in when they were looking for Goldilocks, and I walked in like that. They were like, oh, you know. But then your mom, of course, told my mother, knock this off, you know, blue jeans, sweatshirt, straighten the hair. And then I started working.
Yeah, like, I used to spend weekends at Kathy's house in Simi Valley. We ride her horse Comanche. We could cut this out if you want, Kathy. When we were like, we were so young. And it was the 70s. We were in Anaheim because we were all staying in some hotel to do the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival. Brad Savage. I won't throw too many people under the bus, but we went streaking.
Yes, we did.
As kids, we
did.
We were like running naked in Anaheim. So
yes,
you know, news at 11. Thankfully, the only thing anyone had was an Instamatic at the time. And so Kathy and I did a play together in the 80s, and this character that Kathy played was supposed to be the anti-Kathy.
It was like the librarian syndrome.
Yeah, but also frumpy and just kind of and not fun to be around, the character, you know. And Kathy's comedic timing and her serious stuff, and she was spot on. I just have to. I always remember that she can act.
Yeah. Listen, Moosie, take a look at the first episode of the 3rd season after we lose our dad. I just saw it and I started crying. Her performance, you forget how amazing Kathy is as an actress.
Oh no, I don't forget. I just saw how versatile she is.
No,
she's always been good.
Moosie, years ago, I optioned a play called. There was a writer in New Orleans. It was called Child Stars from Hell. It was about 7 fictional child stars who were all broke, but they needed therapy, so they met in a church basement and had group therapy. It was a big hit in New Orleans. So I said to Paul Peterson, "Let's cast it with real child stars." So we had. Gary Coleman, and we had, Johnny Whitaker and Brendan Cruz at my house doing the play readings. And I remember we finished reading one day and I was listening and it was so good, these performances. And because you forget there was a reason all these child stars were stars. because they were so talented. A lot of them didn't make the transition, to adulthood, but they were still so talented. And I remember I said to the group, I said, listen, first, I can't believe you're all in my living room. And second, I can't believe how amazing you guys are. And Johnny Whitaker goes, oh, shut up, Wesley. We used to watch you on TV too. So, but I'm just saying that there's a reason that like you, Moosie, that you were so famous and so popular is because of the incredible performances.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But Johnny Whitaker, you happen to mention him. Family Affair, yes, but he did a movie with Jodie Foster. I think it was. He did a couple. He did Napoleon and Samantha, and he did like Tom Sawyer or whatever like that. He was one of those actors like him. It was him, Lance Kerwin, one or two other people who were just like. I was like, okay, I want to be like them. Like, I really respected them. I didn't disrespect anybody, but like Johnny Whitaker was one of those. Like,
yes.
I don't know what.
James at 15. Remember that show?
Totally. Oh, Lance, when we were friends, and I saw him about a year before he passed. We were good buds for a while. He was a really, really good guy, and had some demons and all that stuff, but it was so talented. So he was so natural. Isn't that crazy? Like you get, some Christy McNichol and, there's some people who were just like, they never went to acting class and you just
no,
they're just good. They're just good.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that when they're good like that, but they're also humble. They don't tell you how good they are because then it takes a little good away. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to ask about your convention. Everyone's in your raft.
Moosie, the fact that you were there the day we filmed that, which was the opening of the show, the waterfall, the fact that you witnessed the actual, that to me is like my
and as little as I was, I knew what was going on because when I was younger than that, I was in New York in a film with Jack Lemmon, and we'd shot blue screen or green screen, but chroma key. So I knew what that was. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it was the opening of the show.
Is that the war between men and women?
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm old, but I did movies that actually said in color. They would advertise it in Technicolor.
It was Kathy's idea to do the raft for the convention. She said,
I said, because you know what, at these conventions, this is what you get.
Brilliant.
It was so boring to me
in
to
the raft
all day long. And I said, you know what? I think these people want like an interaction. We need to like bring them in. And it's almost like now it's like a scene that they're in. We give them, props to hold. They have dialogue. They have a costume, which is the life jacket,
the oars.
Yeah.
And it's not even just fans. I'm seeing other celebrities wanting to get in your raft. Like recently, who was it? I'm like, oh my God. Like,
look, it's every celebrity. I see every celebrity that you can name is in the raft.
How lost can they be? They're not lost. They're Beverly Hills.
Chris Atkins just got in the raft. Loretta Swit, she wouldn't get in the raft. She says, I am a major. I stand outside the raft. So she says, but we've had the Brady Bunch cast,
Jimmy Walker did not want to get in the raft, but we wrestled up the Desperate Housewives of Orange County. And they got him.
They got in with us.
Oh, good.
The funniest thing was Patrick Wayne. We were doing a show with Patrick Wayne, Monster Bash, in I think Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to get in the raft and stuff. And his manager made him get in the raft. He took a photo. The next morning, he comes running in and goes, Wesley, Kathy, I got to get another raft picture. My Instagram, it blew up. Everybody's loving this picture. Can I get it? But we have, Lonnie Anderson, Corey Feldman
came bursting out. I didn't even know he was at the Hollywood show. He came bursting around the corner and he grabbed Sid and he said, I just wanted to thank you. You were my childhood. And then I got him because I knew Corey from the unemployment office.
Yeah.
I swear, when we were kids, if you wanted to meet a celebrity, you just went and picked up your weekly unemployment check and they were all there. That's where I met Adam Rich. It's where Cher was at the unemployment office. Everybody was in there.
Absolutely. And that's deceiving. That implies, rightfully so, that these people were out of work. That wasn't the case. An actor's
No,
not working every week, but you make enough during that week when you work that if you go and collect unemployment a week you're not
reinstates it.
working, you get the maximum.
Right.
Wow.
And
And
it
you used to go,
kept it going.
yeah, and yes, exactly. And they would just hand you envelopes of cash. It wasn't even a check. It wasn't a direct deposit. They,
Were the bills in color back then?
yeah. No, I actually, I was paid in like these stones, but
You're the youngest one in the bunch. What are you talking about?
I don't, no one's going to believe that, by the way. Watch
Yeah,
that.
they will.
Aaron asked me the other night, because I was, so what you doing? I'm not pulling up Kathy Coleman photos. And I wasn't even just pulling them online, like the composite I pulled up and one other, the Goldilocks. I have the paper, I have the litho.
Wow.
These aren't digital. I'm
No,
not saying
I
I'm
knew
obsessed
one
with
of
Cat.
them had holes in it on the side.
What's that?
The one litho had the holes. Remember the 3 holes?
Yeah, for the,
Yeah.
So
Right.
the agencies go, nope, yep, nope. And I noticed on your litho, it had Mitzi McGregor, your agent's phone number. But back then, there wasn't even an area code. It was just
No,
7 digits.
but you know what's so weird is my son, Christopher, my oldest
Uh-huh.
son, when I had his litho done, at that point, I would have been like maybe 24 or something. And they put your social security number on the bottom of the litho, the actor's
Oh,
social
wow.
security
Oh,
number.
wow.
They
Gee,
would never do that today.
what can go wrong and what could happen? Yeah. It was such a different day.
Absolutely. Going on an interview and signing in on the call sheet, dropping it in the basket, your photo. It was like that was when you actually competed and you auditioned for a part. Now it's all packaging and video interviews and different.
Yeah.
We went on, cattle calls and
We have a couple of non-land of the lost questions that we wanted to ask each of you. Also,
okay.
Kathy, first about you mentioned already your memoirs. You have 2 of them. Lost Girl and Run Holly 1. So can you just break down for our audience what each one covers?
Well, the first one I self-published it, and it was like a coffee table kind of scrapbook book. And then I wound up getting a publisher, and I added about 25 more stories to my book that was published, Run Holly Run. But they were both memoirs, so it's my life. It's not going to change from one book to the next.
Mm-hmm.
But the second book that was published has a lot more details and stories and things in it. So.
And it won Best Biography. It was for indie publication when it came out.
And Aaron is got a blurb on the back of my my book.
And my blurb is on the front cover, above her name, above the title.
Well, you just have a better agent. That's all.
He always says, I get top billing. Brat.
It's funny. So wait, you developed, what did you develop? You co-developed
Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales
series, PBS's animated series.
When are you going to do something with your life? Like, what a slacker! Seriously. And you sang on the show, and you co-created.
Co-created. There were 3. There were 3 of us. I'd written a book a novel called The Red Wings of Christmas, and Disney bought it for an animated feature. And I wrote the screenplay, the songs for Disney. And anyway, there was they were looking for, PBS was looking for a new series. They were offering $16 million grant. And Sesame Street wanted it, the Muppets wanted it, everybody. And a guy from Sony called me, Jim Cohen. He'd read my book. His son's favorite book was my book. I had worked with him. I was producing a show called Totally Hidden Video for Fox. I was working on that show. And he said, we've got these dragon drawings. We don't know what to do with them. We're working on some stuff. Can you come do it? And in 3 days, wrote it, won the grant the next week.
Wow.
And it was on for 9 years.
Wow.
Great series. Really was a great series. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
so,
Thanks a lot.
I do have one question. I promised I would ask about this. You have a celebrity fan. I'll tell you later on who. But he asked me to ask you, Wesley, about your experiences on Password and Match Game.
Oh my God! I love being on Password. You know, I finally got to host my.
You were like a regular almost. Like you were there a lot.
Yeah, I was pitted against like Elizabeth Montgomery and Betty White and you know, Vicki Lawrence, all that. But my best day was when they said, I was in NBC to film like the 5 episodes, because you know, in a game show we filmed all 5 episodes for a week and a day. They said, would you mind teaching Lucille Ball how to play the new end game of Password? I said, Lucille Ball, are you crazy? Yeah. Huh. So I called my mom, who lived in Burbank. I said, what are you doing today? And she goes, nothing. I go, want to spend the day with Lucille Ball? And my mother was in the dressing room in 15 minutes. And Lucy came in and she stayed with the whole day with me. And I changed it in front of her. I would go film a half-hour show. She would watch. We'd work on the clues and how the things all worked. And it was just one of those amazing Hollywood days.
Yeah. And I just don't even see that as a question. How is that a question? Do you want to anything with Lucille Ball?
Yeah, I'm friends with her daughter, Lucy Eure. We've been known each other for years, and I ran into her recently, and I said, you know, I taught your mom. Yeah, and she goes, yeah, you did okay, and but it's just, you know, it's again, you know, the access that all of us have had because of being on these shows. We get to meet our heroes. We get to sit next to. We get to go to dinner parties and people's homes like yours, Moosie, and be with people that I've admired all my life, and I get tongue-tied. I'm suddenly in the presence of people that I have worshipped. Even Johnny Whitaker, like you were talking about Johnny. When I was a kid, Johnny Whitaker was like God to me as an actor. From the Littlest Angel when he did that show. I mean, it was like
me too. Yeah, we're very lucky. We're all very fortunate. I hope we always continue to be cognizant of that. I think we are at our age. I think it's not going to go away now. You know, Password was my favorite. When we have game night, everyone wants to play these new games. I have an old Password set, like with the red window.
Oh God, that's crazy.
And you know Teresa Ganzel? She was in the toy.
She just got in our wrap.
Oh, did she? She was. She used to do $20,000, $100,000 the pyramid shows, and Password. Yes. She'd give you a run for her money. She was an amazing game show celebrity. Like she would just make people money too. And we play games with her, like in the house, you know. And she's just brilliant. But anyway,
I auditioned for Pyramid, and I had the fastest score of any celebrity on record.
Nice.
Wow.
And they wouldn't let, and I was on, all my shows were NBC, and they wouldn't let me on.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy? Nowadays, it's not like that.
No, it doesn't.
Jay Leno's not even whatever, but like Jimmy Kimmel will go on Jimmy Fallon's show and be a guest. Yeah. You know how it used to be like Johnny Carson wouldn't even bring up any other, it was like, they didn't even exist. Other networks, other shows.
Well, if you did, that you got notices, the managers and agents would get a notice that if this actor does this show, he's banned from Carson's show. Wow. There's been documentaries about it, about the problems that put up behind the scenes.
Yeah, I know. I read that book, Night Wars or something.
The Late Shift.
Late Shift. Yeah.
Yep.
That was really interesting. Yeah. Jay Leno hiding in the closet listening to
Yeah. I read
so that. Okay, I know you guys get asked this all the time. Real quick. In a nutshell, Kathy first, what was your favorite Land of the Lost episode? And doesn't mean your favorite one to watch, like you thought it was the most entertaining, favorite one to shoot, just for whatever reason. What was your favorite episode?
It was called Elsewhen. I met my future self in it, and it was played by a woman named Erica Hagen. And that, for many, many reasons, I became good friends with her off the set. She was like a mentor to me. She was, and you'll get this, Moosie, she was so beautiful inside, outside, but she was like, also so feminine and girly, and I needed somebody like that in my life. I really needed that. I just did.
Yeah, well, good.
I mean, from where I came from, I needed a woman like that to
That's
to
a
see.
beautiful reason. It's a beautiful reason. And I loved the episode because I remember it. But for you, that sounds like it was more than just. It sounds like it was a.
Yeah, and she wound up. I met her for lunch about a year before my book was published, and she wrote the foreword to my book.
Oh.
And she just got me through like a couple of like blocks that I had in life as a kid.
Yeah.
She had the knowing to push me through with grace. And yeah, I talk about it in the book.
So that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, people think people around the world think people in show business are different than most of them really are. They're good people and you come across them and you were meant to have her in your life. And we all have these people.
Yep.
Yeah, she
Wesley,
passed away.
what was your favorite episode of Land of the Lost?
It was an episode. It was the end of the first season. It was they wrote the last episode of the first season in case there wasn't a second season. So because people always say, "Do we ever get out of the Land of the Lost?" And in the last episode of that first season, there's a loop that's happening in Land of the Lost.
Right.
And in the missed doorway, and if it doesn't get resolved, the Land of the Lost is going to explode.
Daddy, do something.
Daddy,
do something.
You keep falling off the waterfall and nothing happens. And Enoch, I'm in the cave with Enoch and I'm looking at the doorway and I can see Earth. And I go, Enoch, are you saying that I can go back to Earth? And he goes, Will Marshall, you must go home. 3 must leave, so 3 may enter. And what it was that the Marshall family, Kathy, Marshall, Will, and Holly, we had to walk through the mist doorway, go back to Earth. And we did at the end of the show. We got back to Earth, but our doppelgangers came into the Land of the Lost, and the cycle was completed, and it started all over again. So the end of the episode is the Marshall family suddenly, for the first time in Land of the Lost, discovering the cave and the dinosaurs and stuff.
Holy cow.
And it was written by David Gerald and Walter and Larry Niven, and it was such good sci-fi.
That's layered. That's just layered. That's awesome.
Layered, and that's why, like Kathy's episode that she's talking about was Dorothy Fontana. DC Fontana.
Right.
She was one of the most famous sci-fi writers of all time, and she wrote the Elsewhere episode.
Yeah, how cool. I think the fans need to know. And I'm throwing myself under the same bus. So Kathy and I have a past of, we were counterfeiters. We would take little round tabs off the top of the 409 cleansers. There was little round tabs in the markets and they were the exact size of a dime. And we'd go in front of the market. And they're kind of like gumball machines, but they're not. You can get candy, but there's the little prizes in the little clear domes. We didn't pay for those. We went and took the little plastic things in the market. Sorry, Kathy, lawyer up. You were 7.
We would clean machines out. We just put our shirts open like this and just load them into our shirts.
Totally.
But we were like terrors in all the stores we went into. We caused we would bite into the cheese at the grocery store and remember when for my birthday or for your birthday, whenever somebody had a birthday party, we'd smash, not dent it or anything, but we'd take peanut butter and fluff sandwiches and spread them on people's windows. We put those chocolate cream puffs up the exhaust pipes and.
Well, I was kidding about what I was saying, so I don't even know where I was.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were there.
I do remember this in Simi Valley, a gang of us youngsters.
They got hip to us, Moosie. Do you remember on those little dime things? They got hip to us after a while.
Oh, yeah, and they put a little fat
little
piece on it
tab
so
on
it didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
BS. So
excuse me, I'm gonna sit over here.
Yeah. You're gonna distance yourself.
I hear a whole bunch of felonies right now.
In Simi Valley, Kathy, you and I and a bunch of other, and probably Philip Haley, we I think we egged somebody's house or car because that's what you do in the 70s. And
we TP'd things.
Yeah, but a neighbor came over to talk to your mom, and we were all there, and your mom just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. They were just having fun." And I remember actually the words she said, "Well, they were having too much fun." Because we egged like someone's car or something like that. We're terrible people. But why would I bring up the counterfeiting ring?
Yeah.
And then, but
Because
you know
it's
what?
what we did as kids. But we,
You
you know
didn't
what,
have
we
much
did
else.
get busted, and we did made us go and clean that car up, and so we
Yeah,
did.
yeah, I do remember that. Hey, listen, you remember when Danny Bonaducci lived in my house, right?
Of course,
Or
of course,
lived in yeah.
with his
Um,
mom,
God.
who was painting baby pictures.
Yeah. Well, so Danny lived in our guest house because his mom Betty was getting separated, divorced from Danny's father, and they so during Partridge Family, so I've got a partridge living in the back of my house, and
Yeah.
and Danny, and I wouldn't say this if he wasn't the first to admit all this stuff. Like he was trouble, man. He was trouble, and he and I
You
caused.
actually had two partridges at your house because Brian Forster used to come over too.
Oh yeah, and also Ricky Siegel, but
Ricky Eagle, that's right.
Siegel, yeah, yeah. And Eve Plum lived around the corner.
And Susan Crowe was with us in Disneyland when we streaked.
Yeah.
She was, because I've got a picture of her and Shannon Terhune. Remember Shannon Terhune from Little House?
Yeah. Do I remember Shannon Terhune? I see her all the time because
Okay.
Terhune is now married to my sister's ex-husband. So they come to my nephews and nieces' parties, and I'm like, Shannon Terhune, this is amazing. Yeah, and Scotty from Star Trek, Chris Doohan lived across the street. Or
Eve Plum lived around the corner from you guys at one time.
Yeah, E Plum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in contact with still. So.
Oh.
Wow. See, that's just a crazy, unusual child.
I wouldn't change it for the world. I would not change it for the world.
Me either. Me either. And my mom, she made mistakes and stuff, but she was trying. She was raised a bunch of kids all on her own. She couldn't walk, and I can walk, and I have one kid, and I've made plenty of mistakes, as an adult. You just do. We do. We're human, and I wouldn't.
That is the very reason, what you just said right there, Moosie, is the very reason why you, myself, and Wesley are not in a psychiatrist's office right now, because you know what? We were smart enough to wind up with compassion and understanding and forgiveness in our hearts. And so with those things, they keep you out of those doctor's offices.
Yeah. And all you have to do is spend one key moment that sticks with you as a child, if you're a child actor, to look to the left or right and see someone whose feet are not on the ground and just go, I don't want to be like that a-hole. Sorry. I know we're probably not supposed to, you know what I mean? Like, and just go like, look at these people. In 3 years, someone might not even know who you are, and you think you're the God's gift to the world. Just keep your feet on the ground. We're all so lucky to be doing this. And so anyway. Oh my goodness. Well, we could probably go on forever, but we won't. Bobby Sherman's coming in. So I did a show with Bobby Sherman. He's a nice guy. I did one episode with him, and I'm like, Bobby Sherman, because there was an expression, peace, love, and Bobby Sherman, right?
That's right.
That?
That's right.
Yeah. And he was a big deal. He was a big deal. Anyway, we'll go on.
Absolutely. He had an interesting house. So I used to record when I started my first TV series. I had been recording for Motown, and then I got a series called The Organic Vegetables with Kay Ballard, and I was the lead singer drummer of this organic vegetable group. And we used to go over to Bobby's house and record. And Bobby had built an exact replica of Disneyland's Main Street.
Oh,
He'd done it as a kid, and then he rebuilt it as an adult and won all these awards. And it was to the nth degree exact, with every molding, everything.
That's
amazing.
Cool. That's cool.
Just odd things that
What did you just call that show?
The Organic Vegetables.
Organic Vegetables. Do you know Corey Feldman's dad? Because he and I talked about this at the Hollywood show.
Yeah.
No, just Organic Vegetables. His dad was the lead singer of the Strawberry Alarm Clock.
No, my gosh. Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Incense and peppermint. Did they say that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
his
had
dad.
no idea.
Wow.
He was a musketeer.
Wow.
That's crazy. I had no idea. And Wesley, you were on I know we're all over the place. You were on teen magazines. I remember Teen Beat. You were the hunk, handsome Wesley. You're doing this, and he loves to play tennis. He loves, hey, ladies, this is Wesley's top favorite vacation spots or whatever, those magazines. What was that like, real quick? That must have been, you go
was
to the
odd.
market and you're looking at yourself right there,
Yeah.
right? The market.
There would be a time I would walk to the market and go to the store, and I'd be on 3 covers of a magazine.
Yeah.
It was so weird. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Because I was on the Soap Digest and all that, the soap opera magazines also. So and the Teen 16 and Tiger Beat and all that.
That's got to be a weird, like, we've had the experiences where you might see, Land of the Lost ad, Kathy or I, and see like, oh, a movie I was in, and oh, there's a billboard, whatever. But like, just the magazine thing's got to be really like, just kind of bizarre. I almost wouldn't want to buy anything because I'm standing in line and people are like, that's me. I'll take 3 of each,
Yeah.
Right. So funny.
No, but I lived a very different life than most people because I had a little horse ranch out of the city, and I had Arabs, and I lived, I lived a different kind of life.
Yeah.
While I was doing all of this.
And that's another connection that you two guys have had. Like Kathy had Comanche, the half Arabian, half quarter horse, that I loved to ride.
And then I wound up living in Mexico, and I broke horses in the ocean in Mexico.
What? And then she designed hot air balloons. And then, that's just crazy.
Isn't that amazing? She'd ride the horses in the ocean. So
in Mexico, they just put a bandana around their eyes, and they give you this flimsy little rope. And I would just get on and take them straight into the ocean, and the waves just hitting them in the sand on their hooves. They're not going anywhere. The struggle is like right there.
Wow. So does that speed up the process because they're even more spooked and whatever that they just?
Well, it's just a no-win situation for them. So as far as having somebody on their back, that whole thing is no longer a fear for them.
Yeah.
There's no bucking that's going to take place.
Yeah.
Buck in the ocean.
Wow.
But of course, you have to teach them reining and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I did a few Westerns. I did some Westerns. I probably owe it to you because I actually could ride a horse, not like an expert, but I wasn't, how every actor
race those burros.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The horse didn't feel like, I was scared of the horse,
Right.
And you taught me a lot. I never got the bareback thing though. I'd always fall off somehow. You got the bareback thing. I needed a saddle, but wow.
I love the history of you guys, the stories that you guys can tell. I mean, you guys, Moosie, was there ever a time when you, because you knew everybody, all the child, when you were really angry with one of your friends that got a job that you didn't get?
No, we were just on a podcast.
We just talk about this.
Did you?
You know what? Not angry. There were only, like you guys know, it was a much smaller club. If I didn't get it, Robbie Risk got it. If Robbie didn't get it, Brad Savage got it. And then Lance Kerwin and, Ike Eisenman, And we were all friends. I really, and I'll give you the one example that I know Jonathan's going to laugh about. I really did, first of all, I wanted to play Little League Baseball. I wanted to see my friends in public school, but I did love the process of acting. But if I didn't get anything, it's like, okay, cool. I hope Chandra's still in history class because she's cute, and go back to school, whatever. But it was always like, yeah, of course Robbie got it. Robbie's great. What's for lunch? Let's move on. It wasn't that, but after a while, I started to realize that there were child roles with great substance and not just the little basic, running through the room, and just to establish that the leads in the show have kids, and that's it. There were some like the father and Mother has divorced. There was an after-school special. I don't care that it was an after-school special, and I did my share. And there was one where it was called My Father Lives in a Downtown Motel. And I read for it, I got a call back, and I got close. And the more I kept reading it, the more I felt like this is acting. This is not just some of the surface stuff, And that one I really wanted, and it went to Ike Eisenman, who that's why he's no longer the host. I'm not going to say what I did with Ike's body. I'm not going to say what I didn't. I've always like to. No, but I loved bringing it up when I speak to, throughout the years, him and I have been working together doing voiceover work and stuff. So we've known each other for years. But no, that was one of those. I wasn't angry, but it was like, you have to be honest. Like, oh, you got that good one. And you know what? I remember watching it, and it went to the right guy. I mean, Ike is a great actor. He's a really good actor, and he did a fantastic job. I was personalizing it because I didn't even know my dad. There was something going on with me at the time. Right. It was that, and maybe a few other roles I really wanted, but
did
never.
You not go up for the Woody Harrelson role in Cheers?
Okay, we were just having a nice time, Kathy. Yeah. But you know what? That's another thing. It's actually, it came down to the two of us.
Yeah.
And of course, that's life-changing. Of course. Woody's not that common of a name. Woody Harrelson got the role of Woody Boyd. They didn't name him Woody. It was already Woody. It was meant to be. That made it feel like it was meant to be. Also, he was amazing on Cheers. He was great. And that's really the, when someone took a job over you and you're like, oh God, and then you're just like, they're missing so much. They could be doing so much more with that. That's different. But Woody, like, I shouldn't have got it. I should have been Park Place to his Boardwalk. But no. Crying? What about you, Wesley?
The one I regret the most, other than like Park Tremie, the Love Boat or whatever, because I had a lot of those. But I was asked to host the Tonight Show in Australia, to be the Johnny Carson of Australia.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. And I was in Australia. I stayed on vacation. I did some talk shows. Became a huge hit there, and they liked me. And they asked me if I'd host. They first asked me if I'd host the Family Feud, and I go no. And then they said, "Would you host the Tonight Show out of Melbourne?" And I said yes. And it was going to be 3 nights a week because it was Australia. It was not that crowded back then. And I was going to move to Australia. And I signed a contract with Nine TV. But I had to meet with the government. And I went in to meet with the Labor Board in Australia. And they said, nope, we're not going to let an American host the show.
Oh, wow.
We're only going to let an Australian host it. And so a guy that I know, I'd done his talk show before, and he took over. And the head of the network resigned over because the headlines in Melbourne were going, "Will Wesley make it?" at the time, and I didn't. And I have always, it would have, obviously talking about turns and lefts and rights and all that, it certainly would have changed my life. I was so looking forward to that job. I was going to be able to create my own show and have my own band and all that kind of stuff.
You never know if you got it. Something.
And I wasn't competing with anybody. They were creating the show around me.
Incredible.
Yeah. So because they didn't have a Tonight Show.
That's crazy. So now, do we have to give them back Nicole Kidman or something? Because
wow.
That's crazy. Now that wouldn't happen today, though, would it?
No.
I mean,
it's changed. They were very xenophobic. It was the Days of Our Lives was the #1 show in Australia when I went over there. So I had a huge following, and Land of the Lost had a smattering. But it was anyway. It's what it was. It's those. You never know.
You never know. Maybe it obviously wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Except for Babalu, I'm waiting for the Sid and Marty Krofft big.
Oh, I just got a message from Sid.
So you're going to be at Star Trek in Vegas.
Yeah,
I would love to have you in our raft, Moosie.
Oh my God, yes.
Talk about a full circle.
I can be in the raft too?
Yes, you could.
I swear,
up in front.
We just booked a couple other shows, and we got a show in West Palm Beach coming up, Iowa. We've got Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay.
But Kathy and I've also we started our own podcast, so it's now up and running on YouTube and Instagram, and it's called Wesley and Kathy's TV Talk.
Oh, fantastic!
When we edit this together, we're gonna put this on
the links also. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, I do have to ask. Sid does his weekly show. Wesley, you've been on a lot on Instagram. So, is there any talk about possibly doing another series that are reviving this series? And would you both be interested to have some sort of role or something, some sort of participation in it?
You know that movie that you said, did you ever go up for something and not get it? We didn't wind up getting Land of the Lost, the movie, done the way that we wish that it would have come out. And so, yes, if it came around again, would love it.
Yeah, there's rumors circulating that they're talking about a new Land of the Lost series, and absolutely yes. In fact, David Gerald, Trouble with Tribbles, our head writer, has been writing a novel about what happened to our characters. It was 40, and the simple plot is that it's 40 years later. We had a baby brother, little baby, like an infant, that couldn't go on the raft, and it's now 40 years later. He has 2 daughters, and they come to find us.
Oh, that would be cool. That. I would love that.
That's a role for you, Moosie.
I don't act anymore. I love to direct 2 episodes and let Wesley direct the rest of them.
Well, there seems to be like a renewed effort to recognize the former stars of craft shows. Is there something to get all of you involved more with the craft productions and some, I guess, to enhance your legacy, kind of?
There's got to be.
Well, Wesley and I have been doing these, Comic-Cons for the last 10 years or so, and we've been keeping the balloon up in the air. You know what I mean? I don't think that anybody would be doing from the craft world as many shows, except for Butch Patrick. Oh, yeah. He runs neck and neck with us as far as Evan the Drive. That guy is just an energizer bunny.
Yeah.
He's got, the Munsters and everything going. He bought all the cars, the Munster mobiles, and he hits these conventions.
But to answer your question, we would love to work with the production company again. We do shows with Sid. Sid is an incredible friend, and to be a little small part of their legacy, it's just an honor for us. It really is, and we don't take it for granted one moment.
Moosie did mention that I was going to ask it, so here it is. So I see you're both very involved with your fans on social media. And Wesley, one of the thrills every year for me is when you always wish me happy birthday on Facebook. So how can people follow you both on social media?
Just Wesley Eure, E-U-R-E, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. And I'm there like an old hooker on a street corner, sitting there begging.
And Kathy, do you have other besides Facebook?
It's under Kathy Coleman, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on all the same sites as Wesley. We sort of come in as a team. I take one corner, he takes the other, and then
now
we cash in at the end of the evening.
And now on YouTube we have the podcast Wesley and Kathy's TV Talk, and not just the podcast, but a lot of fun videos, little shorts and stuff.
Awesome.
And lastly, what comes to mind when you both think back of your time? Sorry, when Land of the Lost, what just comes to mind when you just think of your time there? The first thing.
I just feel happy. It was just a great time. I met my future family. It's like Elsman. I met my future sister when I met this little girl, this little excuse me. Yeah, it's a 12-year-old girl.
I know.
And I never thought in my wildest dreams, because I was, 10 years older than Kathy, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that our lives would be neck and parallel with each other. And this has been the greatest joy to have this relationship with Kathy. It is.
We have fun.
We
support each other like crazy.
Like even the Star Trek convention, because we're there on Star Trek convention. We're on our own dime there, so we actually share a room for a whole week at the Rio. We got queen beds, and we spent the last 10 years 1 week a year.
In our summer camp.
Bunkmates.
Nice. Nice. Well, you must love each other because you both agree to stay in a city that's been 124 degrees.
It is nuts out here.
Well, I want to, again, I want to sincerely thank you both for coming on. Like I said, it's been such a treat for me. I was
Thank
such
you
a
for
fan of
having
the
us.
show, and I no lie, you were both like the most. Every fan that writes into our show says, "When are you going to have the Land of the Lost people on?"
So
It's true. Yes.
yeah. All right, guys.
Well,
Love you guys.
Well, again, this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm
Well,
Jonathan
no,
Rosen. Oh, sorry.
You know, we have to sing the theme song.
Oh,
before we
yes,
leave.
absolutely.
Oh,
Oh, God, I'm so
I
excited.
mean,
Yes.
I mean, what?
Of course.
You ready, Pat? You ready? Here we go. Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft. We saw it and plunged them down 1,000 feet below. Where? To the land of the lost. To the land of the lost. And then Grumpy the dinosaur goes roar.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So now I'll count it. So again,
That's amazing.
You know, listen, I don't work for Scale, but the Slee Stack do.
does.
Scale.
Gail, oh God, we were
Never mind.
almost out of here without a corny joke. Do you guys do the cameo?
that's
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I can see you guys singing that song to people and getting their names in it, and
Oh my God, yes. And the fans always love the closing song. Even Jake Gyllenhaal in Bubble Boy was rocking it out. He pretended he was me in the Disney movie.
Yes.
And Jack but Tenacious D does a cover for it. But the closing song is what everybody wants to hear. You ready?
When I
Look all around. I can't believe the things I found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost. Find me living in the land of the lost. Living in the land of the lost.
That's right. Right now, I'm craving a box of cereal and a bowl.
Yeah.
All
Now
right.
I'll count it. Should I count it out? Well,
Love you.
Love
This
you
has
guys.
Pop
you.
Culture Retro.
That's in front of my face. What is this?
All right. Jonathan, you going to sign us off?
Now I'll do it. Yes. This has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Moosie Drier. And again, a sincere, very special thanks to Kathy Coleman and Wesley Eure. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
5, 6, 7, 8. Marshall, Will, and Holly in a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known to the land of the lost. Roar!
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast. Listening to this podcast just makes you really cool.